Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. If this is your first time visiting, a special welcome to you. We got a special feature today. We are doing a driving tour of Negril, Jamaica, particularly focusing on the West End. And this is a bit of a long video. It's about 40 minutes. And depending on where you're watching it, this will be in different parts or one long video. My name is Winthrop Wellington, by the way, and here on my channel, we really discuss all things Jamaica. But today, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing a bit of tour of Negril, and we're just going to flow with it. We're just going to flow with it and see where this takes us. So we are starting this tour off on Norman Manley Boulevard, otherwise known as the Beach Road at Travelers Beach Resort, which is my family's hotel. And of course, we gotta wait for the traffic. But across there on the left side of your screen, that is our NEAT Resource Center, or the Negril Education Environment Trust Resource Center. NEAT is my family's nonprofit organization, which focuses on education for young people. So right now we're heading south on Norman Manley Boulevard. Pretty beautiful day, as you can see. I don't know what the temperature was when we filmed this, but it was nice. It was a nice day. And so we're heading towards downtown Negril, and on your left is the shared user path. So that's running, walking, biking, and that goes for a little bit over 2 miles. To your right is the Negril Beach Park. It has a basketball court and the beach, of course, and just really open space. Unfortunately, it's closed right now. They have plans to do some refurbishing. And then we just passed the Negril Community Center. And then we're also passing the craft market on your right side. And this is the South Negril River and Bridge. And we're heading to the Pinnacle. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hear me? Should be good now. Sorry about that. All right, so I think most people are coming off of Pinnacle, watching the Heart of the Pinnacle. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to get into the discussion about that shortly. And I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear your feedback. Let me know what you think. Of course, happy Emancipation weekend, and going to give some updates on Negril this weekend, because this used to be the dream weekend, right? And we used to be packed out and used to take 3 hours to get home, which normally takes 7 minutes or 10 minutes. But that is not the case. That is not the case today. That is not the case this weekend. Let me turn off put my phone on silence. And yeah, I'll give you guys an update kind of what's happening here on the ground in Negril. But of course, would love to hear where you are chiming in from, what city, what state, what country. Always love to hear that. We have Throp-X NYC Connect happening next weekend, next Saturday, 6 days from now. And so if you're interested, please let me know. You can, let me actually put that in the comments here, so you guys can sign up. So if you're in the New York City area, or the New York area, Northeast, whatever, would love to meet up with you. I'm going to put the Google Forms there in the comment section. And if you're watching on the replay, I'll make sure that we have that in the description below. As a matter of fact, let me do that now, because I already know I'm going to forget. So sorry, real quick, admin, Throp Throp-X NYC Connect. All right, so that's it. Just click the link in the description below for everybody who is watching on the replay. Fill that out, and we'll get you out the information about where it is. So it's 12 o'clock, August 8th, Saturday in New York City. It's in Manhattan. I know a few people have told me that they are actually having a Jamaica Day parade, which we've never had in New York before. We usually have the West Indian Day parade, which is Labor Day parade. And that is like the signal for New York, for the city, or at least the Caribbean community, that the summer is over. And that was the end of the run. But this year, we are having a Jamaica Day parade alone. I believe it's going to be in Brooklyn. I didn't really look into it, but that's what people told me online. And we're doing it on the same day. But again, it's going to be in the city, so we should be able to avoid like whatever kind of traffic or crowd that would be kind of causing any sort of encumbrance. But the city usually handles it. In general, the city usually handles it pretty well. So I guess any feedback for anybody who watched the Heart of the Pinnacle that we just came off of, any feedback that you have, just throw it in the comment section. And I have lots and lots and lots of feedback, pushback, hate, from Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, from the trailer that I put up. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And very expected, extremely expected. And then also I would say to a good extent, I understand where people are coming from with some fears, some concerns. And then there is also just downright bad mind like that. That's the only way that I can describe it. But I think there are legitimate concerns, and all in all, like, I do really appreciate having discussions about these somewhat tough topics. I don't think it's tough to have the conversation. I think if we kind of just have our own ideologies and they just fester within our silos, and then they're reinforced by information that is coming in from people that believe in what you're believing, and you're only getting one side of the picture, I think that's where we run into problems. And I'm always here to learn. I'm always here to gain understanding from different people. And at the end of the day, like, I want what is best for Jamaica all around, not just for one particular group of people or for one particular group of social class or race or anything like that, right? And there's always, and of course, environmental as well, which is just interesting. Haven't really heard a lot of pushback on that, and that's what I thought would be more at the top of the list in respect to concerns that people have. But we'll get into that shortly, and it's been quite interesting. Very interesting. These comments that I'm getting, and I'm not going to share my screens because I don't necessarily want to get at anybody in particular or put anybody on blast. I'll read the comments. If you want to go check them out in the comment sections, you can go ahead and do that. But we'll do that shortly. Let's get through some comments of our own here in our live stream, and then we'll get the show started, so to speak. What's going on, Chris? Thank you for being on the Pinnacle premiere, and then also here on the live stream. Appreciate you being a Thropper Think Tank member on Patreon. Who else we got here? By tell me up the mic. Suzette, what's happening? Thank you so much for being a channel member. Always appreciate your support and you being here. Kevin, what's happening? Happy Sunday, Throp from Toronto. And thank you as well for being a channel member. We were supposed to do Throp-X Toronto Connect next weekend, but I switched it to New York because, because we just... logistics. Let's just leave it at that. Logistics. So still trying to see if we can make that happen. I would love to do Toronto before the summer ends, but it's not looking likely. It would have to be sometime in September. And I don't know, is the weather still good there in Toronto in September? But that's kind of, and I know that's kind of a bad time with back to school with people, but that's kind of the only option that I would have for this year at this point. But we'll do some canvassing via email and probably and future live streams as well to see what works for everybody else. Happy Emancipation Day, Throppers. That's right. That's right. Blissful Perspective. I didn't see any promo for the London meetup. I'm sorry. I know I promoted it short notice, but I tried to promote it across all my platforms. Email. Please sign up if you're not. Sign up for our email list. If you go to Throp-X.com, please sign up for our email list, and that way you'll never miss any of our meetups, our future emails. And I've mentioned before that we are going to be starting moving this, not this live stream. This live stream will always continue as long as I can do it, but we are definitely moving the community in a very strong way to a community platform within a matter of weeks. And if you want to be a part of that, you're going to get the correspondences through email initially. And of course, I'll mention it here every now and then, but that is the best way kind of just to stay in touch with the community as it is, the Throp community as it is, so you don't miss out on future events. And next year, I plan on doing these international events very regularly. I mean, literally every few months. And I found when I did New York City Connect last year and London Connect last year, I found them so powerful. And I don't know, I guess I learned really quickly in terms of what works and the types of venues that work for these things. And the London Connect, which is so incredibly powerful. I mean, it was just rife with just synergy and just great, amazing people. And I did not meet one schlep. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is really a testament to this community that we've built. And then also combining that with just a great passion for Jamaica and people wanting to move here, do 6 months Jamaica, 6 months UK, and live their life and live their Jamaica dream. And it's just very, very inspiring to hear some of these stories and the ambitions and what these people are doing within our community. And I know Throp-X NYC Connect will be just as good, you know, and I'm very excited for that next weekend on Saturday. So again, if you want to come to the meetup on Saturday, August 8th, click the link in the description below and fill out the form. We would love to, I would love to meet you next Saturday. Donna Bryce says, Jamaica women's netball team took silver. Oh man, I thought they were going to go for the gold. My friend's mom was a founder of the Jamaican Netball Association and is in her 90s. She watched it. That's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know if anybody caught the Australia game yesterday. I don't claim to know netball. I know somewhat, but nonetheless, Jamaica was playing, and of course, it's going to come up on the feed. And they beat the #1 ranked seed Australia, and it was phenomenal, really, really phenomenal. And awesome. I mean, they've made Jamaica extremely, extremely proud. Congratulations to those girls. Second place, silver medal. Still super, super, super proud of that. Patch chiming in from Fargo, North Dakota, originally from Montego Bay. Awesome. Fire 2K5 was in Negril last year during Dream Weekend, and it didn't feel like it was happening. How are things in Negril that it's moved? All right, let me touch on that right now as you asked that question. I was going to get into that a little bit later, but I think it's a good time to stop and kind of break the comments here. So it's obviously very, very different here. There are local promoters putting on different events during the day and in the evening. I believe they started Friday, if I'm not mistaken, but it's not Dream Weekend. I tell you that it's not Dream Weekend. Usually, as I mentioned in my opening, you know, for me to get home, it takes less than 15 minutes on a normal day. Dream Weekend, sometimes 3 hours. You know, if you catch it at the wrong time or something like that, you will be sitting there for 3 hours trying to just traverse Norman Manley Boulevard. Today, this weekend, yesterday, the day before, free and clear, 123 ABC. Nothing doing in respect to that. However, the Negril is busy. You know, it's not Dream Weekend busy, but talks to a couple of hoteliers, and it's just holiday weekends. Jamaicans like to come to Negril, and very, very thankful for that. And we do okay, and especially these big holiday weekends, Emancipation, Independence, big holiday weekends, the hotels will do okay. I will say, my assumption, of course, enough time hasn't passed to do a full detailed assessment and kind of get a good understanding analysis on the effects of Dream Weekend exiting Negril. But I would say the people, just eyeballing, I would say the people, businesses, entrepreneurs that are probably most affected by this is probably, I would say, Airbnbs, taxi drivers, and vendors, both on the beach and on the beach road, or even the West End. And so you're probably not getting that walking traffic that you normally expect. And my presumption is that all of that has moved to Montego Bay. And I'm unsure of how the Negril promoters have done so far. We're, I think, 3 days into a 10-day festival event. That's what they've been promoting leading up to it. If you watch my live stream, I think two Thursdays ago, I had a couple of the promoters on the stream talking about the different events that they're having. And I hope it's going well. I am not seeing like a huge crowd. Again, it's not Dream Weekend. It's different. Of course, that's to be expected. And also, this is the first year that something like this is happening in 16 years, because there used to be local parties here in Negril during this time, but then ATI, there was ATI and Dream Weekend. I don't know if you guys remember that. There were two big parties and ATI left, and then it was just Dream Weekend, or they split. I might have that wrong. But nonetheless, there was one party event band festival that was taking place here in Negril for quite some time. And now that event is no longer here. Sorry, I didn't give that context before. That has moved to Montego Bay. I watched a few videos online. They were mostly news reports about how Montego Bay Dream Weekend is doing. And it seems like it's great. It looks crowded. It looks like there's a lot of people there. I don't know if it's sold out. It looks sold out to me, which I think is amazing. I think it's really, really, really great for those guys. Congratulations to them. Hopefully, it's been fruitful for them. It looks great at least. And it seems like it's great for Montego Bay as well. Keep in mind, their room inventory is significantly down due to Hurricane Melissa. You got, Sandals, you have the Hiltons, like all the Hilton chains, all those hotels are down. There's a bunch of them. As far as hotels taking room numbers, taking a hit in terms of regionally, Montego Bay got hit the worst, and there are some of those hotels that aren't opening until like sometime in 2027. There's some opening, I believe, before the winter season, but nonetheless, of course, the Dream Weekend promoters didn't anticipate such a large, and I'm talking about thousands of rooms of room inventory just not existing for their patrons. And so my presumption is that Airbnbs in Montego Bay will be doing better because of that, because the room inventory wasn't what they thought it was going to be because of Melissa. I would also suspect that those vendors, taxi drivers there are doing very, very well. And that kind of just shifted that economic activity that took place here in Negril is happening there in Montego Bay. So, good for them. Hope it's going well. Hope they're having a prosperous event over there. I know there's another one, I believe, Best Weekend Ever, and I'm not sure if it's this weekend or next weekend. I know some people were talking about that, but I think all of this high-level, high-traffic entertainment, I think it's so important to Jamaica. I think it's so important for our economy. There's people coming from all over the world for these things, and I think it's just superb, superb, superb. So I wish everybody the best, and when it's all said and done and the dust settles, I will come back. I'll reach out to the promoters as well, as a matter of fact. I mean, if I can have any of them come on, that would be great. I'll try to see if we can do that, come on a live stream, even if we have to do a Zoom call. But I'll report back to you guys to let you know how that went as soon as I have some information from the horse's mouth, so to speak. All right, moving on. Money Matters, chiming in from Rockland County, New York. That's actually where my college roommate was from, suffering. Copeland Russell, blessings from Florida. Good to have you on. The Walls of Civilization, Little Elm. Where is that? Fire, chiming in from Alberta, Canada. Shane, what's going on? Chiming in from London. Very hot evening. And I know you guys don't got AC over there. Most people don't have AC. I'm not sure about your situation. Jala, what's happening? Hi, Throp. Exciting discussion topic. Looking forward to it. Rasta, what's going on? Separad and Musin Group are launching a massive new housing project on 3,000 acres in St. Thomas. I just heard about this. Sorry, looking for my coffee. I just heard about this. I need to look more into that. Exciting, exciting, exciting. Rasta, do you know what the price point is, our price range on that? If you have any insight, we would love to hear. Of course, take anything said here by myself or anybody in the comments with a grain of salt, but I think it's a good opportunity to exchange some information here. 80s here, what's going on? The commercial center at the Pinnacle has landscaping completed and is looking great. That area is in need of a supermarket and shops businesses. Yeah, and I want to get into that too. I'll slightly touch on it now. Is that project is creating so much opportunity for entrepreneurs and businesses and business-minded people, and that's great. So I guess they don't have a supermarket there yet, but and those that don't know, their commercial center is actually will be open to the public. So something to keep in mind. But we're going to get more into that a little bit later. Natalie, can you give an update on the Oasis? Immensely interested. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before. I mentioned it last week. There are a handful, 6 units as of last week. A couple of people reached out. I don't know if that's still the case. They've already started demo. I'm supposed to put out a video on it Friday, but it's probably going to come out tomorrow morning. As a matter of fact, we just had too much going on here at Throp Media. So if you're interested in the Oasis, just shoot me an email. You can email me at events@thropmedia.com, and I can send you over I'll put you in contact with the developer. Let's do that. Oh, coffee's still hot. This is addicting. That's one thing I will warn you guys about. If you are a coffee drinker and you move here, I mean, I think it's one of for me at least, it's one of the best things about living in Jamaica is just like good coffee in abundance every single day. I drink my coffee black, and I drink my coffee black here. But then when I'm in the States, I have like if I'm going to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, I have a oat milk latte with hazelnut. But I don't need to do that here. Just black. Give it to me straight. It's so good. It's so good. And that's probably why I'm talking so fast, because I had so much of it today. Anyway, Natalie, hit me up and we'll get you that information and I'll make that connection for you. Jala, what's happening? And your London meetup photos looked great. Thanks for sharing. You're welcome. Jacqueline, you're a great advocate for Jamaica. We in the diaspora appreciate all that you do to promote Brand Jamaica. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Shayna, what's going on? Happy Sunday to you as well. Thank you for being a channel member and a Patreon member as well. Jacqueline, when am I going to Baltimore? No plans. Is there a Jamaican contingent in Baltimore, like a large Jamaican contingent? I don't know the area that well, but we're supposed to do a DMV tour meetup at some point. I don't know if that counts, but that's something that we're considering. Rich, what's happening? Yes, the weather in September is still okay in Toronto. Okay, good. Thank you. Good to know. The Walls of Civilization, loved it. I would like to see something with the dock area. Oh, with the Pinnacle. Fair enough. No, that's a good. I haven't got down there. Like I've gone all the way down to the end of the peninsula, so to speak, but I'm not sure exactly where the dock area is. Good point. I'll see about doing something with that area. Nubian, I love the fact that we're using Singapore as a template for development and success, as they use us in the 60s as a template for development. Mutual exchange is always great for growth. We need it. Well said. Well said. Lisa, what's going on? Thank you as well for being a Thropper Think Tank Patreon member. Good afternoon, Throp and Throppers chiming in from sunny Connecticut. Nice to have you. Hard Drive, hi Throp, good to see you. Thanks for hopping on. Pat says, visited Montego Bay. 14 years. Awesome. Wow, that's huge. Congratulations. I was impressed with the developments, was very impressed with the Pinnacle, saw the interview and the developer. Seems humble. I definitely loved his philosophy. Best wishes. Thank you. No, they're a good group. Interesting. Not only am I learning from them, but everybody who's working with them is learning from them. We're gonna get into that shortly. Watching from Iron Shore, 80s hair. You captured the heart of the pinnacle, which is Yangtze. Toured the model units on Tuesday. They are spectacular. The pinnacle is a big deal. I agree. What's going on, Mark? Hey, Throp and Throppers chiming in from Brampton, Canada. I heard you mention the Throp-X in Toronto, August 7th. At some point, did it get canceled or was I mistaken? You were not mistaken. I canceled it. It's logistics just couldn't make it happen. So I'm doing New York instead. Toronto was the plan for the 7th, but didn't come through. Sorry about that. We're trying to see if we can do it sometime in September. I will let you know. From what somebody else said earlier, still good weather. By the way, the latest Pinnacle content was fantastic. Great work. Thank you so much. Thank you. Jacqueline says, where is your Jamaican accent? No Jamaican accent. We got a Long Island accent in the building. And a running joke here, I do not want to get made fun of for speaking patois. Donna Bryce says, Island Max showed an update on the bypass upgrades at Montego Bay Airport. Moving along. Okay, maybe if we have time, we'll check it out. He's doing great work. Island Max. If you don't follow him, he's a great follow. 80s Hair says, Negril doesn't need Dream Weekend on a holiday weekend. People flock to Negril. The vibe is positive in Mo Bay. The events are spread out on multiple venues, especially the aqueducts. How's the traffic been there, 80s Hair, with the events? How's it been so far for you? Rockman, bless up, excuse me. See, I can't speak patois. Bless up, great focus on Yangtze. He's the boss of Montego Bay. Thank you. Donna Bryce says, saw all the booths at Waves for Emancipation. Look good. Yes, I was up there yesterday. I think it's a great initiative. So at Waves Beach, they have a bunch of different businesses and entrepreneurs having booths, and it's like a community business event. And they had live music, a DJ as well. So very nice event yesterday. The Walls of Civilization, Little Elm is north of Dallas. Got it. My good afternoon, Throppers. Saw the Pinnacle mixed responses. Kudos for pushing ahead and offering a platform for balanced discussion. It's needed. Thank you very much. I agree. We're going to get into those comments very shortly. Just says Throp and Throppers, hello from Florida. Wishing the promoters / events organizers in Negril all the best with their new venture as well. Hope the event started off well so far. Mark says 100% agree on the coffee. Love it. Rasta says it was announced a couple of days ago, but very excited for what's going on in Parish. Also, a scenic route highway will be built from St. Thomas to Portland. Talking about the Ciprod development, 3,000 acres or something like that. Rockman, we drink affordable high mountain coffee with butter. With butter? You put butter in your coffee? Let me find out. I'm here watching from Gunquit, Maine. Am I reading that right? I'm not sure. Sue says cheers. Thank you. Happy Sunday to you as well, Keisha. West Indy watching from Dubai. We'll be moving home in JA in about 2 years. Not going back to Canada. Awesome. Congrats on that. I hope it happens for you sooner rather than later. Conrad Trucker, what's up, Throp? Hailing you up from Brampton, Ontario. Thank you for hopping on. Rich, about the coffee, I drink it daily here, Toronto, but like you, just black in JA. I need to return to JA for some Blue Mountain. Blue Mountain is so expensive. I do Blue Mountain at home sometimes, but mostly it's High Mountain. And it's still great. High Mountain is still really good. Better than most coffee that you get in the States, in my experience, in my opinion. Petula chimed in from the UK. Nice to see you. Nice to have you on. Tia, what's going on? From your biggest fan in Japan. That is my cousin. She just moved to Japan. Come to visit you next year. Can't wait. Thanks for chiming in, cuz. Gwen from Sturgis, Michigan. Thanks for chiming in, Gwen. 80s hair traffic is bad as usual, but moving along. Taxi drivers out in full force, ready to serve. Awesome. It's pronounced Ogunquet. Okay, thank you. Learn something new every day. Tia, what time is it in Japan? Just curious. I know you guys are. It's tomorrow for you, August 3rd. Throp, big up, enough big up Throp, Caribana weekend in Toronto, right? The streets are hot. I can imagine. I can imagine. And Kit says, happy Sunday to everyone from rainy Montreal. Oh, sorry, it's raining, but at least it's not cold rain. I would suspect it's not cold. All right. So, all right, let's get into some of these comments real quick. And so that's wrong. And so let me give a little context here, right? And like I said before, I'm not here to put any particular person on blast or have anybody in this community go after anybody. There was actually a lot of that, and this was, what would I say? This was the first time, and I don't know what is kind of shifting here, but this was the first time I've seen so much that just extremely strong pushback from people in the comments. So for example, somebody would say something negative about the Pinnacle, the development, and oh, this is terrible for Jamaica, it's ugly, atrocious, blah blah blah. And then there's so many people that would get at that person. We're going to go through that in a second, but there would, like, almost every person who left a negative, there was somebody who came back with just a sensible argument and just, hey, think of it like this, think of it like that, instead of just being so negative. And so, generally speaking, and this is why I was saying, like, I anticipated pushback in this documentary. And I'll also say, somebody also made a comment that this was a marketing ploy or something like that, and perhaps it can be positioned in that way. But this was my idea. I pitched this idea to them, and in terms of how I told this story about the heart of the Pinnacle. And the reason why I did it is because, and as if you watched it already, you'll see at the end, I was talking with Yangsen. And by the way, that bit was not part of the documentary. And we were having tea, and then my camera person just set up the camera and just started recording as we were having this conversation. And it was just in a way that, like, that was the interview with Yangsen. And because it was just so natural, it wasn't meant to be. We were just kind of learning, we were just kind of talking, that sort of thing. And as you saw, it kind of just kept rolling. And the reason why I came up with this idea is that, and going back to that conversation, I was saying, like, before I even knew Yangsen, before I even knew the Pinnacle, the people in the Pinnacle, when I heard about this project, I was like, man, this is so good for Jamaica. Like, this is going to be incredible. And I think it's also important. I think it's also important for people to understand my perspective and my experience with Jamaica, particularly as an adult, and a little bit as a kid, right? And so I never spent full summers here in Jamaica. I spent 3 weeks out of every summer in Jamaica. And then I would used to spend the rest of the summer with my mom, me and my brothers, that is, my mom in Brooklyn. And that was kind of how we grew up. And that was, I would say, our relationship with Jamaica. And between that time and moving here as an adult at 22 years old, there wasn't much that had changed, particularly and most especially in Negril. And then I've been living in Negril for at least 10 years. And the first 5-7 years was just like nothing. And I've said this before, and I was just like, I've always questioned whether Jamaica had a future, like a prosperous future. And I never thought that, and I was like, this is just, man, how are we going to be a prosperous community, Negril community? How are we going to be a prosperous country? And I wasn't excited about the future. I wasn't excited about the direction that Jamaica was going in and Jamaica was heading in. And then I want to say around 2016, 2017, things started to shift. You started to see things happening. And so my point, I won't necessarily go into details. But my point is I was here for an extended period of time, having the mindset and was very much convinced that Jamaica was always going to be Jamaica, so to speak. And also keep in perspective is the amount of debt that we had. Like our debt to GDP ratio was one of the highest in the world. If I can remember, I think it was like 163% or something like that. Was ridiculous. And I was just like, we are never getting out of this. I don't know if you ever saw, I remember thinking like, we're never getting out of this. And we're just going to always and continuously be a poor country. Like I was convinced. I was just like, all right, these are my cards. I need to focus on my business and do as well as I can for my family and for my business and provide the best service and experience for the guests who come here, travelers. And this is not going to be a situation where the country, so to speak, is gonna help me rise and help my family rise, right? And completely convinced of this, right? Because the cards had been so stacked against Jamaica. And this was, of course, all caused by really poor leadership decisions, which we don't need to get into and won't get into. And then you combine that with the stereotype of us being, not, it wasn't even stereotype. We were the murder capital of the world. And the stereotype was that this was an extremely dangerous country, that if you came here, you have high potential of being murdered, robbed, etc. And it was this very dangerous place. And this was what it was for so long in my adult experience here. And again, I was convinced that this is it. This would be the future that I would have to be in, the environment that I would have to be doing business and be an entrepreneur. And I stuck with it, right? And then as the years started to go on and these big companies started pumping billions of US dollars into Jamaica in the late teens, and I'm like, what are they seeing? What are they doing here? What is happening? What type of information are they getting that is giving them the confidence to put so much money into a place that has all these things wrong with it? And then, of course, COVID happened. And then during COVID, the real estate situation in Jamaica began to really explode. And then shortly after that, we'll bring it to Pinnacle right now, the Pinnacle project was announced. And when I saw the Pinnacle and I saw it was announced, and I wasn't part of it, I kind of was just starting my YouTube career, if you will, and real estate career, if you will, at that point. And I was like, man, this is like just amazing, you know? And I never would have thought that a project, a development of that nature could be in Jamaica. And it's like, why are they doing this? You know, like, why are they putting all this money? And again, what are they seeing here that most people aren't seeing? And so in my mind, like, I didn't know these people. I just got on board. I was like, this thing has to be successful. Like, Jamaica needs this and we need to get to this next level. And further context is just like having the travel experience that I've had. I think that helps tremendously. And that's one thing that I'm seeing a lot in these comments. I think a lot of people just watch videos and then, again, it's with algorithm, everything. It's like whatever they're thinking is reinforced by the content that they're consuming, and they don't have the real world experience and kind of going out there and seeing what's happening and seeing how, in many respects, Jamaica is being left behind. And I'm seeing certain developments in other parts of the world that I feel Jamaica is so much better positioned and poised to take on these types of investments, but we were never being looked at in this way and having that potential and return on investment. And it was always sad for me, you know, to go to especially other Caribbean islands that had, in many respects, far less than Jamaica, to see them having just first world infrastructure and businesses and entrepreneurs and education and that sort of thing. And it's like, man, why don't we have this in my country? And then going even further back, I remember going to a particular island and then also seeing that the locals, the island was doing well and they seemed to have a good economy. But then the native people there, they weren't the ones driving the Range Rovers. They weren't the ones driving the luxury vehicles. And that has been a huge motivation for me with my channel, in that I would never want to see Jamaica turn into something like that. And this thought has been implanted in my head far before I had this channel, far before Jamaica started to really do good and be on the trajectory that it's on. And that has always been a motivation behind me, behind this channel, and behind me. Honestly, it's part of what drives me. And I would hate for Jamaica to turn into something like that. And this is kind of why I started creating the content the way that I'm doing it. Is this like, man, with this turnaround, if you will, and what's happening here on the ground, I'm like, we got to get the Jamaican diaspora in this. And like, the word has to get out with what's happening here. And irrespective, again, this is back in 2020, irrespective of what we're seeing on the headlines and the news, there are things that are happening slowly here. Or I'm going to get into that in a little bit if we have time. There are things happening here slowly that I think the wider Jamaican community is unaware of. But these multinational institutions, they are aware of it. They have the data, they have the information, and they're investing accordingly. And one of the arguments that I keep seeing in these comments is that they're conflating private investment with government public infrastructure investments. It's like I can't believe we even have to have this conversation, right? And the argument is, it's like, how can you put a pinnacle when the roads aren't right, or we have all these potholes? And I'm like, in a way, like, what does one have to do with the other? And like, even let's bring it down to a much smaller scale. Somebody comes to Negril, they want to put up a small hotel, 5 units, 10 units, whatever it is, or they want to buy a hotel and refurbish it. It's like saying to them, how could you invest in Negril when we have Norman Manley Boulevard riddled with potholes? You should focus on that instead. I don't understand that. Like, it just makes zero sense to me. On the investor side, it's like, it's one of those things too. It's like, these investors have a belief, for one reason or another, that Jamaica is going to improve exponentially, right? And they are investing in Jamaica at, let's say, I won't say a low point, but a lower point that they anticipate Jamaica will be in 5 to 10 years from now, right? And imagine if we did have all of these infrastructure facilities in place. Our roads were just butter smooth. We had a water supply all over the country. Our electricity cost was lower. What else do we complain about? We have the hospitals. We have the murder rate is even lower as it continues to go down. People are going to pay, the premium on that is going to be high. And this is what they're betting on. They're betting on eventually these things will be in place. Eventually we will have a quote unquote first world society. And they're betting on that. And I think that's perfectly okay. It's just like when my dad moved here and there was nothing in Negril in the early 90s. He bet that it would improve. He bet that Negril would grow, Jamaica would grow. And this was 40 years ago, whatever it is. No, I'm 42, it can't be 40 years ago. 35 years ago, or whatever it is. So it's like the same thing, it's the same thing, and you're rewarded for taking on such a risk. And none of this is guaranteed. None of this is guaranteed. So anyway, I digress. And so I don't even know where I was going with any of this. Oh yeah, I was talking about the conversation with Yangsen and how I got on board with the Pinnacle and why I've become just passionate about this project and why I think it's a great thing ultimately ultimately for Jamaica. And even like the first video I did for the Pinnacle, did it all on my own accord. I was just like, and it was because I was like, man, the word needs to get out on this, right? And just like this video that I just did with the Heart of the Pinnacle, and I pitched this idea. This was my idea. This was the storytelling of and how it was all put together. I was thinking, I was like, man, what you're doing and what that group is doing, the developers are doing, it's incredibly impactful. But I didn't see, and this is no disrespect to their team or anything like that, not at all, but I didn't see this side of their story being told. And I didn't see that how impactful that this is the impact that this is having on so many people. And it was more of like the tip of the iceberg and trying to kind of getting people to understand the, if you will, extrapolate the tentacles that this project is touching and how many tentacles it has and how it's going to inspire so much entrepreneurship all around all around Jamaica, but definitely Montego Bay. It's going to be huge for Montego Bay and Montego Bay entrepreneurs. And you've met a couple of them in the documentary there with the contractors. And even when you go on the site, you see a lot of Jamaicans working there. And again, another one of the arguments that is being made there in the comments is about the workers and how does this benefit Jamaicans, right? And being on site there and working on this documentary with them, one thing, we couldn't, this is really sad. We had a construction worker that we spent a lot of time with, but the audio like really messed up and we just couldn't put it in. I mean, this guy was dynamite. And then it also didn't fit the story structure that we had, and we had to cut it. And it was a hard decision to cut it, right? The audio made it probably a little bit better, and we were trying to finagle it and that sort of thing. But my point in bringing that gentleman up is that his mindset and approach as a construction worker is very different from the average Jamaican construction worker. Same with his work ethic and same how he approaches life. And he'd been there, I think 3 years at this point. And it was like, wow, you're seeing the effect of the cross-cultural collaboration happen, right? And you're seeing how how the Chinese approach doing work and their work ethic is kind of laying over on a Jamaican worker. And he's just one example of many. And when this project ends, it's like those construction workers are going to go and do other construction projects, and they will have leveled up so much as construction workers, right? And this is phenomenal for the workforce here in Jamaica. And then same thing with the technological advancements, right? Jamaica has never had any type of building like that, and even how they have been constructing it. You're seeing I think it's called a piler, how they put the piles inside the ground. And we have this technology here now. And even the tools and I forget what, I'm not going to try to name some of these things. But anyway, our Jamaican workers are being exposed to technologies and methodologies and ideologies that they otherwise never would have been, right? They may not ever have an opportunity to leave the island, but now they're getting this international experience that's coming to them. And I think it's great. I think it's amazing for the workforce here. So a lot of positives. And, these are the things and these are the aspects of the story that I think wasn't being told in terms of the impact that the Pinnacle is having on Jamaica. And then you have, and going back to like what even Jason Russell was saying, right? And he was talking about, let me back up a second, right? And so you look at, this is a luxury development, right? And this is ultra luxury development. This is the first time that There is a branded residence that is coming to Jamaica. This is, and the way that I think of it, I think of like I was thinking like the Fountain Blue. I remember going to Fountain Blue. It was like almost 10 years ago. They had like Fountain Blue residence. I'm like, damn, this thing is like $1,000 a night or something like that. And people live here. Like, that's crazy. So it's like that type of thing, right? This is like in South Beach in Miami. And Jamaica's getting that. And we've never had that before. This is a completely different type of clientele, different spend. And I know there's this argument of like, this is not for Jamaicans. This is not for the average Jamaican, and how this has benefited the average Jamaican. And it's just like, as I continue to always say, every development, every construction project isn't for everyone, right? And even look at the opportunities that I'm bringing to this platform and to my channel. Yes, we have Pinnacle. Don't quote me on this. There are units starting that range from like, say, 630,000 US dollars up into in 3 million plus if you want the penthouse, right? That's not for everybody. That's not for everybody. But also, I brought you Oasis, which is starting at 140,000 and 160,000 US. Different price point. Every development isn't for everybody. And some people will even say, how can the average Jamaican afford that? Every development isn't for everybody. And some people may look at saying that that's too expensive, of 140,000, 160,000. Then that's not for you. We have to go to a different market, right? And we'll go to a different area. There's different opportunities that you can go to and find that may fit your investment appetite. And so there's a wide spectrum. We're shooting a hotel tomorrow that's going for 3.5 million US dollars, right? That's not for y'all. That's not for the average person. That's not for me. I'm not buying a 3.5 million US dollar hotel, but that's for somebody who's interested in doing business and in owning a hotel. That has nothing to do with most people, and I think that's okay. And I think we can appreciate that, right? I hope we can appreciate that. So I keep going on these rants and I can't remember. All right. What was I talking about? Let's go back to talking about Jason Russell and the entrepreneurs, right? And so that level of clientele, ultra luxury, 1% of the 1% coming to Jamaica, and they're going to have their second, third home here, which I think is perfectly okay. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about Jamaica, is that there is something for everybody here. And if you want, like Jason was saying, if you want ultra luxury and you want to buy a $2 million penthouse, you can do that. If you want to buy a quarter of an acre in the mountains to look over Ocho Rios and build your dream home, you can do that. I mean, there's so many options in Jamaica for different type of investors, different type of people who want to work from home, want to retire here. Somebody just told me they bought a property on a river, that a river runs through their property. Now that got me thinking, like, man, I would love to have a piece of property that has a river on it. You know what I'm saying? I would love to have that. And that just kind of changed my perspective. And so anyway, there's lots and lots of opportunities with that. Going back to the 1% of the 1%, living here, investing here, having a unit, say at the Pinnacle, being part of their branded residence, is they're also going to be requiring, if you will, certain amenities, right? And that level of wealth, income, socioeconomical status, whatever you want to call it, they are going to shop differently. They are going to look for certain creature comforts, if you will. And Jason brought it up in his interview, in my sit down with him. We're going to see. My presumption is we're going to see a Louis Vuitton store here, a Rolex store here, caviar, like taking words out of his mouth. Caviar, I don't know. I don't think I've ever had caviar, but people who like caviar, perhaps there will be a caviar restaurant or something like that, because we're trying to cater to that demand. And it's more than likely going to be our entrepreneurs here that are going in Jamaica, that is, that are going to be a part of that, right? And that are going to, hopefully they see the opportunity before others do and they jump on it. And I think there's just going to be just tremendous amounts of opportunity as it relates to supporting the pinnacle. And it's not like the pinnacle, right? It's the idea of the pinnacle, right? You look at, like, say, a One Reading, you look at, I'm sure there's going to be, we're talking about, I think Vista last week, right? On the hip strip. And all these residents are going to need support. People are going to need to go to the grocery store. People are going to need to be entertained. People are going to want to go to different restaurants, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, come on. It's going to happen. I personally believe. I was at the London Connect a couple of weekends ago, and that was one of the main concerns that was coming up, is this, like, how is the pinnacle, let's say, going to be supported? The people who live in the pinnacle are going to be Montego Bay. How are they going to support it? And I truly believe it's coming. It's coming. Let's get to some comments here before I continue going on and on and on and on and on. Poppy C, last week you mentioned the steps needed to offer property as a developer of more than 5 units are something the registrations and filings needed. Will session specific be specific? Will we have a session at Throp-X for that? No, but we will have the real estate board there. And we can, if this is something that people are interested in, which I presume, yes, they are, we can have the real estate board. I can request, if you will, see if they can make a presentation on that. And then if you do come, I would also recommend, I'm not sure if it's going to be Jared again. He did an excellent job in May, but have a conversation with them specifically about your situation. And I think that is, like, one of the most powerful things about Throp-X, is that you get the people who are either help you invest here, move here, etc. Like, and all the agencies and all the private sector individuals, professionals. I encourage people, even if in the Q&A section of the panel discussions or even sidebar, ask your specific question. I think it's so important, because I know if there's one person, there's probably another 5 people that have a similar question or want to get a similar understanding of what you have in your head. So I would encourage you to, if you're coming, ask that question when you get there. And then also, I will talk to the real estate board about making, or at least part of their presentation on this. Thank you for that, Poppy Seed. Keneal Powell says, bless up. Your dad, he taught me a lot about the bird pepper. He would have to have it before his meals. Great man. See you walking is in great footsteps. Blessings. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Bird pepper. He does like bird pepper. That's funny. We have a tree in the, I don't know if this is what you're referring to, Keneal, in the back behind the standard block here at Travelers. Interesting. Buffalo Soldier, I'm back. Was toggling between you and Miss Claudia while out on the road. Now I can grab my second device to watch you both. Yeah, Miss Claudia is awesome. We got to do a collaboration. You know, she came to Throp-X a couple years ago. She is really great. Really great. Shane Frank, sorry, but you are from a parish with the most negative people. That's why they're still living in those board houses, former PM brainwashed. I've said this before, yeah. Negril, I can speak for Negril, maybe not the whole of Westmoreland, but Negril's biggest problem is the people of Negril. Like, we hold ourselves back, unfortunately. I mean, we do it to ourselves so foolishly and to our own detriment. Not that that's what this conversation is about, but you hit the nail on the head with that one, Shane. Jamaica is like, this is from Ruel Smiley. Jamaica is like a stream. It all depends upon the point of view where you're looking from. Well said. Poppy Seed says, despite Pinnacle, do you really think Jamaican government is ready in a competitive way to attract large-scale investment without sacrificing Jamaican without sacrificing Jamaican participation. Um, no, there will always be Jamaican participation. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So my take on just investment, we can say, use your example, large scale investments coming to Jamaica. And I know people have a problem with that, right? Some people have a problem with investment and foreign investors coming to Jamaica. And my question, and I'm opening this up, please, if you have a rebuttal to this or you don't agree with me on this, I'd love to hear your perspective on this, right? And my thing is, how else do we get, and this is how I always think, how do we get the money from the people who have the money to the people who don't have the money in a legal way, right? And I don't know of another way, Jamaica specifically, that Jamaica can do that. We have to have outside investment because we are not a country that is doing mass production. We can't produce our way out of it innately. And when I say out of it, it's more so towards prosperity. I'm open to learning. I'm open to gaining understanding and how we can do that without it taking 100 years. How do we do it within our lifetime and the lifetime of our children that we become a prosperous country and that the quality of life of the average Jamaican within a lifetime, within a generation, is elevated substantially, let's say. And I don't necessarily know how we can quantify that. We can quantify that by minimum wage, but I'm more so talking about like the quality of life, right? And how do we bring that up where the, I was going to say happiness, but that's too hard to measure, But that's my point essentially, is that I can't think of a way other than investing, getting outside investors to come in and doing it in an equitable way and doing it in a way where we are very much putting our people forward and that there are direct benefits for Jamaica and Jamaicans. I can't think of it. And I think we need more investment coming into Jamaica. And I cannot, and let's go back to where the mindset that I had and I was describing and building context with earlier in this stream. And remember again, when I first moved here, my mindset, I was fully convinced that Jamaica was going to continue to be and always be a poor country that is going to be in debt over its head, almost like a Haiti in its way with its relationship with France, excuse me, and just having this insurmountable debt that will always hold Jamaica back. But we've broken out of that in a real way. Yes, we've had a setback with COVID. We had a setback with Melissa, but we'll get back on track. I mean, we are in the strongest financial position as a country than we've ever have been before. And it's like, man, I never thought we would do that. I never thought we would be here. And we are. And I can only imagine, I wouldn't even want to imagine what that reality timeline, if you will, would have been if we didn't get rid of that debt, if we didn't bring down the crime, and if we didn't have the investments that are coming into Jamaica right now. We need it. We absolutely need it, in my opinion. And I'm open to learning a different perspective. And if you can think of, or if somebody has another way that another country has done it, and it doesn't have to be exactly like Jamaica, but like if we can kind of keep it similar, that we can point to an example, I would love to know. Or if you have an idea, we don't even have that example. I know we always talk about Singapore, and we talked about Singapore in the heart of the pinnacle. But I'm open, always open to learning. Money Matters with Audrey Morgan says, Michael Lee Chin predicted this many years ago. He encouraged people to purchase real estate then because a time would come when real estate would be out of reach. Thanks for being an ambassador. Yes, I agree. And mind you, I guarantee so many of these people that are now being so negative about Jamaica's prosperity and the investments coming here, I bet you they were the same people who were just talking so much, almost cussed, so much crap about Jamaica and saying this, it's just this dangerous place. I would never move there. I would never invest there. And when I first started this platform, that's like the main thing that I was fighting against. Like crazy, crazy. I'm sure if you go back to my live streams, maybe we'll do that and we'll just bring up like the comments that I was getting and what people were saying, just like dragging Jamaica through the mud. And it was all Jamaicans living abroad, dragging Jamaica through the mud. And now that Jamaica is starting to gain prosperity, and I could see it, like there's so many like little inkling signs that I'm seeing even here in Negril. As much as I just started complaining about Negril and how we're not together and this and that, people are making moves here. I was saying, like, my brother had brought this up to me the other day, and he was just talking about just how much micro construction is happening in Negril. There is a lot of it. Just like people who've bought land, building their homes. Never seen it like this before. Never, 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 never. Not even close to what's happening. And it's not like this, big, grandiose, and you're seeing like backhoes and pile drive, like, what I'm saying? You're not seeing like this massive construction site. Like Negril isn't under construction, so to speak, But if you just start, peeling the leaves back a little bit and you start looking at different developments and, different parcels of land, and you're seeing the most I've ever seen. And my brother brought it. He's like, this is a good feeling. This is a good feeling, just seeing so many of these little projects that are happening, these investments, and it's beautiful. I promise you, it was never like this. I've been here 20 years. It was never, never like this. Never. And it's a good thing to see. It's something that I'm proud of, happy to see. And yes, I will, of course, continue to advocate for this. And I still think it's a great time to buy in Jamaica. I think it's a great time if you see a piece of land that fits within your budget, but you don't necessarily have a plan. Obviously, be smart, do your research, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's a great time. It's still relatively affordable, I think. Rockman says, excuse me. Rockman says the Pinnacle development is a harbinger of good things ahead, and a reminder: high tide raises all rafts equally. China is bringing Jamaica to 2030 targets. Well said. Jay Fitz, High Throp and family chiming in late from Atlanta. Good to have you, Jay Fitz. Copeland Russell says there are so many people from all over the world coming to Jamaica and becoming citizens. That is happening. That's right. Kaido says, High Throp, what is it that you think Jamaica needs to emulate from other parts of the world? What specifically about education, graduate and youth unemployment is high in the UK, a first world country? Good question. I mean, ultimately, what would I say? I think education in Jamaica is being put on the back burner, and it has been for quite some time. And what I mean by that is that you're not seeing like a reform happening in Jamaica. Like Jamaica needs education reform, I personally think. And it needs to have just so much more money go into education in the schools, in the roads leading up to the schools, in investing in the educators, that's the principals and the teachers, and also the curriculum ultimately. And I would love to see a more straight line path for our young people to have in their mind at least, an understanding of like where their life is going to go. And they go from primary to secondary, high school, sixth form, college, start the career, right? And then there is the infrastructure set up for them to have to be able to go to college if that's something that they want to do. In a nutshell, that's what I think needs to happen. But I believe there is just more of a focus now of just like focusing on what's in front of our face, which is important. I think that when we get past this development phase, if you will, I'm not even sure what to call that. I don't know when it's going to end, but I think there's going to be a refocus and a realignment on education and on our youth. It's just not there, and you're just seeing, even in my experience, just seeing so many young people just slip through the crack. I can speak specifically to Negril, Westmoreland here, and my experience with my family is a nonprofit organization. Hope that answers your question. All right, let me keep rolling here. Graham Brooks says, "Evening, Throp and Throbbers from London, England. Awesome. Nice to have you." Faya says, "Have to agree with you on that. The ripple effect will be tremendous. Absolutely." Style, "Hey, from Netherlands, Europe, love Jamaican food. Awesome. Nice to have you on." Style. Marine says, Michelle Knight says, "Can't wait to retire from the US in the grill. Awesome. Looking forward to having you." West Indy 8561 says, "As a Jamaican in Dubai, I knew I wasn't returning to Canada. Jamaica was never on my radar until I saw people leaving UK, US to build and or buy homes. It gave me confidence." Okay, I think I read that. To choose Jamaica after Dubai. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Nicole says, "In working a large scale development and knowing best practices, I would like to see more middle income and mixed use developments showcased that are led by skilled professionals in the diaspora." And I think we can do it. I would love to see that. I think that's great. I think more and more of that needs to happen. We're having that happen here in Negril, right? So, like I said, Negril, I've said this before, Negril is the capital of hotel condo conversions. And many of those development condo conversions are being led by the Jamaican diaspora. And they are in, I don't know if you consider 140, 160, that's 140,000, 160,000 in the realm of middle class, but Oasis is an example of that. Yes, and absolutely, I would love to see much more of that, much more of that. Nicole says, "Great that a river is on the property, but that comes with environmental and conservation restrictions to ensure there are no adverse or negative impacts. I just want a river through my property. That's it. I'm not going to develop. I just have my house, and I just want to be able to go down to the river, right? I wouldn't even want to disturb it. Nothing. I just want to be able to hear the river in the morning, have a coffee, dip my feet in there, and then go back, get ready for the day. That would be that would be that would be my dream." Poppy C, "Louis Vuitton, you have vision. It's coming. I guarantee you it's coming. Louis Vuitton, Jamaica, like you. And we also got to think, right? We've been talking a lot about like these luxury residentials. Like you got to think that the Hard Rock Cafe, they just fully announced the Princess Hotel right here in Hanover in Green Island. Their casino license was officially granted. I thought they been had it, to be honest. I know they never opened it yet, but again, that's attracting a different type of clientele. And if somebody wins, say 100,000 US dollars, they're going to want to spend some of that in Jamaica. And we should encourage that. If somebody wins 500,000, like imagine if it turned into like a mini Vegas and somebody wins like hundreds of thousands of US dollars, they're going to go on a spending spree. At least say if they win 500,000, maybe they'll blow 20% of it, right? You're going to go to a Louis store or Cartier store or whatever, you know? And so I think it's coming. And those hotels we talked about, oh man, I forget the name of that hotel, that 33-story hotel in Montego Bay. Somebody remind me. But anyway, these are very wealthy people that are coming to Jamaica that are staying here visiting, and they're going to be spending their money. And we want to keep as much of that as possible. Again, how do we get the money from how do we get money from the people who have the money to the people who don't have money? Like, how do we do that? How do we create a environment that incentivizes that? That's where my mind is. Gary, "One of my concerns is access to services. We know these services are readily available here in the US. When do you think, if ever, Jamaica will catch up?" Jersey boy here, big up to your dentist. "I love the fact that you shine light on other hotels, even if it costs you business." Yeah, of course, of course. What do you mean by services? Can you just be a little bit more specific on that, please? Nicole says these developments need to be master plan relation to infrastructure and the surrounding area with community amenities delivered based on height and density proposed community centers. Please listen to Debbie, everybody. Happy Sunday, everybody. Remember to hit the like button. Helps out a ton. Helps out a ton. And thank you for being a channel member, Debbie. Appreciate it. Shauna says, I would assume no Throppers think tank next week. No Throppers think tank. We got the IRL version. So we'll figure out a day. I'll let you guys know. We'll figure out a day. Probably the following weekend, we'll probably do it. And we'll see what's convenient for everybody. Jay Fitz, what's happening? Throp, if you paid for Throp-X 2025 when it was canceled but elected to come November 2026 due to Hurricane Melissa, will communication be sent to individuals? Yeah, we sent that out. So yes, absolutely. So some people use their November 2025 ticket for the May version, and then most people have just put it off to the November version. So totally, if you didn't come for May, you can come for November. So no problem. I guess you didn't get that. So we'll send that out again and make sure that you get that. I'll remind the team. And so, yeah, as a reminder, Throp-X 2026, the original date is taking place November 15th, 21st. And if you're interested in investing or moving to Jamaica, we'd love to have you. If you're interested, just join our mailing list with the description below at thropx.com, and we'll get you out information. We'll be sending out a couple of emails this week, as a matter of fact. Greg says, is it the citizens are concerned about gentrification? No, I'm assuming we're getting back to the Pinnacle discussion here. I don't know. I'm not seeing that. Like with most of the comments, and I'm not saying that local citizens are not commenting. I'm not saying that. But I see most of the comments the negative comments I'm seeing are by people in the Jamaican diaspora and people who don't live here. So I'm not sure. At least I'm not seeing that. And it says all developed countries have foreign investment in all sectors of the economy. Why shouldn't Jamaica benefit from this? I agree. Matique, what's going on? JA really has to figure out a way to bring housing down, though. The government can't keep using the excuse of lack of supply. That's what NHT is for. If they solve housing faster and JA takes off, I think the STEAM schools under the NARA bill over the next 5 years is a good start. Great point for education, but that alone won't work. The levels of public schools in general need to raise in JA. Agreed. And yes, housing costs. I think we went through this exercise a couple of weeks ago. We talked about just the cost to build a home, buy land and build a home in Jamaica. It's just astronomical. It's unprofitable for developers, at least the exercise that we did. It's unprofitable for developers to do low-income housing. It would have to be subsidized. It has to be subsidized because it's so expensive to do construction in Jamaica. That's for the material and, of course, the labor as well. Sani says, Sani from Atlanta, and truly impressed by what you're doing. As a Negril fanatic, this inspires my wife and I to move on getting there full-time. Awesome. We're looking forward to welcoming you to Negril. Hope we've converted you. It sounds like it. We'd love to have you here, you and your wife. Dame says, self-investment and fixing investment in the human capital is critical. Absolutely. We are trying to truly improve the medical system and school system. Affordability is critical. That's right. Annex says, agreed, Throp. Education is key to bringing people out of poverty. People need marketable skills they can use for the work that is or will be available in Jamaica in years to come. That's right. SD says, many Jamaicans, not all, leave the country and speak poorly of it. Meanwhile, foreigners see the opportunities and invest in Jamaica. Pinnacle is a great example. Jamaica is paradise, pure and simple. Well said. Kaido says, the thing is the first world countries that typically employed that traditional primary to high school to university pipeline has been disrupted by AI. So I don't see how emulating a system that isn't employing its graduates helps. I mean, I would argue that education is going to make our citizens more valuable. Period. I mean, even if they don't have even if there isn't a clear pipeline to jobs, and I see what you're saying, man. And I'm not saying, hey, put yourself in $100,000 worth of debt to get an education to not get a job, but I mean, we need an educated society. I mean, I think it's so important. I think that's one of the things that is holding us back as a country, like tremendously. It's just like the lack of education, uh, beyond, especially beyond high school, especially beyond high school. Let's keep rolling here. From people with money to people without money. Did I misspeak? Ross says Ferrari and Lamborghinis are expensive. It still has a huge market. To some people, any vehicle are too expensive, no matter what complainers will always say. Darnell, thank you so much, man. Always appreciate your support. Hope you're well. Throp, here's your my thighs because you're preaching. Thank you, thank you, thank you. JA is changing. Get on the wave or get left behind. I hope to have 5 to 10 acres one day. See you Saturday. Awesome, awesome. Looking forward to linking up with you in New York, man. Thank you, thank you. Sitting here watching says David Mullins and his investors are building starter houses in Jamaica. They completed one project already. Awesome. Good to hear. Good to know. On education thoughts, knowledge is power. That's right. That's right. All right, let's wrap up these comments. Val Porter, Throp, are Jamaicans living abroad eligible for bank loans, mortgages, car loans, renovations? Absolutely. The main thing that you need is a TRN. Once you have that, you can pretty much do any type of business that you want in Jamaica. So even people come to Throp-X, you can open up your VM, Victoria Mutual bank account right on the spot. You can start mortgage applications right on the spot at Throp-X. You can, if you're not ready, you can sit down and speak with one of the banking experts there. And this is like the one thing that like I encourage people so much, even people here, young people especially, have a conversation with a banker. It's free. It's free. It's free. It's free. Learn about the banking system here. I can put you in touch. If you like, I can put you in touch with my banker and set up a Zoom call, set up a WhatsApp call, and just ask your questions, the requirements that you need. But we try to make it as convenient at Throp-X, that is, we try to make it as convenient for you as possible in having the tax administration of Jamaica there to get your TRN so that you can go sit down and speak with the VM and set up your bank account right on the spot. And you can get your Jamaica dream started in a real tangible way. So yes, you are very, very much eligible for loans, credit cards, bank accounts, checking, savings, equities accounts, all of the above. Maya says, it's funny because this uptick in luxury investment and repatriation is what Vision 2030 was all about. Diaspora Conference 2019 was centered on this. Now it's materializing, people are fret. Well said. Well said. Well said. It's happening. It's happening in a big way. Kaito says technical skills, meaning the trades. Gotcha. Wait. I think I might have. All right, I missed your comment. I mentioned it because it's the discussion that's happening in the UK now. New PM is proposing that children are taught technical skills from an earlier age alongside academic qualifications. I see. This is in response to AI. I think that's the point that you're making. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, we're going to need to, I don't know. I see what you're saying. So you're saying traditional education. Yeah. I see your point. I see your point. But yeah, I think no matter what, I think we can all agree on that. I'm not saying you're against me on this. You know, a more educated society is just so much better for us all around, no matter what. All right, we're going to take, I know we haven't even got to the comments yet. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to get to, let me see what I got here as far as videos. And then we're going to get to the some of these comments, and yeah, we'll see what's happening, what's going on. All right, be right back. Hello everyone, thanks for joining the tour today, and we're going to be taking a look at the newly renovated bungalows, or otherwise now known as the cottages, which we've gone through about half of them so far, and we're looking at cottages number 4 and 8 at this time. And this is just a view of the balcony. We changed the entrance from being in the middle, and so if you are familiar with the property, there used to be an entrance for 2 rooms in one of these bungalow housing structures, and now each bungalow, each room has their own entrance to the side, and a little bit more privacy as well, because we split the balcony. So you don't necessarily have to talk to the neighbor if you don't want to, but you can of course go around if you would like. And moving into the room itself, these are brand new beds and frames and new design with the throw pillows and the standard pillows in the back there. And then you can also see the kitchenette unit that we renovated, and we'll get to in a second. Also, we added a working desk with a charging station, so you have USB and also Type-C there as well, right below the television. And that's for anybody who wants to get some work done, especially those work from home people. And this is a wider view of the room, and I just want to make note of the AC, because these used to be fan cooled rooms, and now we got rid of the louver windows, and so now it's completely sealed up, if you will, with, as far as the windows go, brand new windows. And also want to bring attention to the ceilings. So the ceilings used to be flat, and now we brought them up to an apex to give a little bit more room and make it feel a little bit more spacious, but still maintain the coziness. And also bringing some more attention to the far right corner of the kitchenette that we have, and we'll get to that in a second, and also the newly renovated bathroom. So we basically gutted this entire place. Even the floor tiles are brand new as well. And this is another angle of the bed, and just want to bring some attention to the LED bed frame, as well as the embedded nightstands and lamps, and another view of the kitchenette, I should say. And as you can see, it has basically all the utensils and tools that you might need to cook a meal. Included is a mini fridge there down on the left, and a hot plate, coffee maker, ice bucket, all the knives and utensils that you may need to feed a small family. Not necessarily Thanksgiving dinner, but you can definitely chef it up in there, especially if you're staying for an extended period of time. This might be a perfect type of accommodation for you. And that essentially is the kitchen. And now moving on to the bathroom. And as I mentioned before, like floor to ceiling, new floor tiles, new ceiling tiles. We got the LED frame around the mirror to give a little bit more lights. We changed out the square louver windows for the ship window, I guess you can call it. And we got the rainfall shower head and the glass frame shower door. Even the towel holders, those are all new. And again, trying to bring together everything in the room, the kitchenette, and to complete the cottage experience, if you will. So very happy and proud of how this was done, and really wanted to give a modern look and feel to this new room category, the cottage. And so also with this wider angle, want to bring attention to the closet. So you got some drawer space there, and you got some hanging space as well, and your safe, of course, and the ironing board is on the other side in between the closet and the window there. And yeah, another angle of the room, and also want to bring attention to that long standing mirror there, so full frame mirror. And that essentially is the bungalow, and this is kind of our way of paying homage to my dad and where he started from with this hotel travel. And I'd say like this is pretty typical in terms of traffic on the West End. It's not really a crowded place. The roads are narrow, but it's relatively safe as far as traffic goes. I guess because it's like so windy, you're forced to slow down, and also there are just not a lot of cars there. I bike here, I run here as well, and I like it a little bit better than the beach in the sense of there just not being that many cars passing and driving towards you. It's La Mirage Hotel. That's the sister property to Shirella Inn. Both great small properties, locally owned. It seems like I'm driving fast, but I don't think I'm driving fast. These properties are just like whizzing by. There's Ivan's, otherwise known as Catch a Falling Star. Again, one of my favorite restaurants, I would say, too. Highly recommend them. They do really good stuff, great service and great food. Coming up here on the right, this is the world famous Rick's Cafe, where you can do cliff jumping if you are brave enough, but it's definitely, I would say, the most popular place, bar in Negril, place to go in Negril. LTU, that's a popular expat bar. And they do their famous Halloween party every October as well. Never been, but I hear stories. I hear it's a lot of fun. Little girl saying hello. Right, we are going deeper into the West End. We're almost in deep West End, but not quite there yet. Coming up on the right is the Caves, which is known as a very exclusive property. A lot of celebrities have been there and stayed there before. I actually went there for dinner the other day, which was very nice, good food. We had dinner in the Cave. And this is our famous lighthouse. Unfortunately, it has been privatized, so from what I understand, there's no more tours to the lighthouse, which is unfortunate. I've never been. It's just like one of those things you just take for granted. You're like, oh, you'll get there sometime, and the next thing you know, somebody buys it and you can't go in. But it's still an important part of Negril nonetheless. Then on the right is Whoopi's, which was just a famous chill-out spot back in the day, particularly during the spring break heyday in the late 90s, early 2000s. Now you could either go right or go left, and we're going to go right. Down to the left is the Negril laundromat, and then right here, I guess this officially starts the Deep West End. And I like the Deep West End. It's a very different feel from even the West End, the regular West End, if you will, and a very different feel, more so from the beach road. That's a villa there. I forget the name of it, but we've done a few events there for guests. At Travelers, beautiful villa. I want to say, like, some of the most beautiful properties are on the West End, but also the Deep West. Some of the most beautiful properties in Negril. This is the Cliff Hotel on the right side. I think this is the most beautiful property in Negril. Honestly, like, it's just gorgeous. I was there for dinner the other day, a few weeks ago, as a matter of fact. But really beautiful property. And for whatever reason, every time I've been there, there's like nobody there. But I think they focus more on groups than anything else. But I really don't know their business model. But great hotel, great for dinner as well. Highly recommend them as well. Service is great as well. On top of their cuisine. So these roads are not the best, and you can imagine biking here. So you've got to take it easy. But as you can see, a little glimpse on the right side of your screen, the views here are just amazing, and I've seen some of the most beautiful sunsets back here. And I've said this on the channel before, this is I think this is a great place to invest now, especially like I know there's a lot of people who want sea view or ocean front, and to get that on the Negril Beach Road is going to be very, very expensive. You know, we're probably talking, at least at this time, what I understand, like depending on the property, $1 million to $1.5 million US dollars per acre. And that might be on the conservative side, to be honest. And again, depending on where it is and what property. Whereas here, you know, I wish I could speak to what you'd pay per acre here, but it's significantly less. It's a lot less developed. But as you'll see as we drive through here, there is a lot of development happening, at least more activity than I've ever seen in recent times. And the types of development that I'm seeing here is mostly villas. And to me, this is like the perfect location, perfect row, if you will, for villas. Treasure Beach has a very similar setup, and there's a part of Treasure Beach where it's just villa after villa after villa after villa. And you're already having elements of this along this deep West End road here. And I think it's perfect, right on the water, just amazing views. You know, I wish we could have got out and shown you, but if you can just imagine, just past these gates, these houses, on the other side, you have just endless views of the sea. And depending on how deep you go, you can actually see the coastline, like looking left and right as you go out to the water. So this is an example of a recently built villa. I don't know the name of it, I don't know the owner, but it's very beautiful. I've seen pictures on Facebook as well. I was actually flying my drone for this property here on the left, somewhere west. We're doing a video for them and working with the owner to help her sell that property. But when I was looking at the drone and looking at that property, it's just really beautifully built, super modern. And again, to me, this is like the perfect location to do accommodations just like that. Or maybe not accommodations, maybe you want to build your dream home. I think this is the perfect place to do it. You're really by yourself, and we're about a little over 17 minutes in. I would say if there is a negative to being back here, it's that it'll take you about 15 to 20 minutes from downtown to get here. But some people like that. Some people love that, as a matter of fact. And just something to take into consideration. Coming up here on the right, this is actually a hotel that just never got off the ground. Obviously, it got off the ground, so to speak, but just never opened, really, for whatever reason. I think whoever did this had great vision. I think this was an excellent location to put a hotel, and I think it was also, in a sense, before its time. But that hotel is actually for sale, and it's being sold by actually one of our real estate experts, St. Alban Clark. So if you are interested, let me know if you want to find out a little bit more information on that property. We can St. Alban can give you that information. So let me know. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at. All right, we're back. I saw people watching it, so I let it run a little bit longer. All right, let's get to some comments here down below, and then we'll get to some comments on my phone real quick. Is my mouse dying? Oh, it's working. All right. OA says, if we find a way, the people that don't have the money, when they do get it, they will end up using it on themselves to get out the country. I hope not. If we create a society where people don't want to leave, I hope we're heading in that direction. Tony Tiger, great. Smooth transition to pivot away from my comments. What's your comments? I didn't see your comment. Let me know. Put it there. I'll be more than happy to talk about it, as long as it's something appropriate. What else we got here? How do I get started investing in Jamaica? I'm from the UK. Throp-X. Oh, I just had a UK event last week. Sorry you missed it. 2 weeks ago, serious. 2 Saturdays ago. So join our mailing list, Throp-X.com. We're actually starting a online community for this exact question. So we're going to be moving to a Circle platform and going to be doing, I don't know, we call it group consultations, weekly meetings, probably multiple times a week, actually. They will be doing Zoom calls with each other. And so that'll be up and running in a couple of weeks and kind of help people like yourself kind of move along their own journey. And as the word gets out, as we set it up and create the platform, we'll get the word out to you. So best way to do that is to sign up at Throp-X.com and you'll be informed as soon as we get things going. Kaido says, we get a little patois from Throp today. That's it. Mark says, just a suggestion for future Throp-X panel discussions, or better yet, facilitations, and that is application for both citizenship via descent, marriage, etc. Also obtaining Jamaica passports. Trust me, we've been trying. We're going to still try. We're going to still try. Hopefully we can get some assistance with that. When I say assistance, getting the right authorities to come to Throp-X to help facilitate that. Mark says, would be great if government allowed both processes to happen simultaneously. In other words, apply for both, speed up the process. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you, Shimei. Moon Palace. Yes, that's what I was thinking. 33-story development. And that will be the tallest building in Jamaica. And that will surpass the Pinnacle. Channel of Coaching says, I think the reverse brain drain returnees, retirees can remedy or close the gap a bit more as it relates to moving the country forward. Just food for thought. I agree. I think that is one of the best ways to reverse that, yes, but then also it's like a bit of a cheat code, right? To move the country forward, where now you're getting a populace. I'm not sure at what rates, but I think we need to increase this rate. But you're getting a populace of educated, highly skilled, highly experienced individuals that are moving here and investing here. And their ideas, their experience, their relative professionalism, if you will be brought here and like automatically, right? I think that's great. You know, imagine we get a Jamaican neurosurgeon who doesn't want to live in Louisiana anymore that moves back here. We get, and we have like 10 of those dreaming here, right? You have, a lawyer who wants to start practicing here. You have realtors who've done millions of dollars in the States and want to come back here. Entrepreneurs and engineers. I think this is great. It's just it just elevates us as a country and our citizenship here. Good point. Kaido says, I believe shifting capital towards technical education makes sense in developing countries like JA. Investment in vocational tech, agriculture education allows local citizens to contribute rather than rely on foreigners, which I think is the issue for a lot of locals who believe Jamaica won't be for Jamaicans. Great point. Excellent point. I like that. Gary says, most people see a chat. AI sees patterns, trends, concerns, and opportunities. That's why I use it. Buffalo Soldier says, I was enjoying the drive like always. Okay, we're going to do more of them. I know I keep getting feedback that people like the drive. How can Jamaica expect to attract high net worth real estate investors who advertise property prices are inconsistent and many properties marketed as luxury fail to meet international standards? I think you have a good point with that. In respect to, I'll talk about the last thing first, but yes, there are definitely properties that say they're luxury properties and that, in my opinion, they are not. The finishes are definitely not luxury. The quality of the craftsmanship of the unit is not luxury, if you will. There's not a lot of attention to detail in a lot of places, many places. And so, yeah, I think you have a point. You have a point. And I think quality control on some of these developments, small, large, and everything in between, is a concern. And I don't think it's, the last thing you want to do is have people who are moving to Jamaica or investing here have some sort of buyer's remorse and feel as if they didn't get what they paid for in any way. And so that is, I would say, a concern that I don't hear a lot about. I brought it up before, but it's not something that is being brought up at scale. And yes, something to be talked about for sure, for sure. What was the first part of your question? When advertised property prices are inconsistent and many properties marketed as a luxury, property prices are inconsistent. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean by inconsistent property prices? I don't want to assume anything. Tony says, I won't troll you, bro. I like your style and respect your professionalism. Hope nothing but the best and success for you. Thank you. Appreciate it. A little trolling never hurt nobody. Cruise with Conan says, nice to see you back and live, brother. Hope your event was fantastic. Looked awesome in the socials. Thank you very much. We're Canadians moving there and not sure where, adding high brow society, social etiquette, nor liquid wealth. Fair enough. Shauna says, can create jobs for local economy and train people to develop good customer service. Good suggestion. Jed says, do you see a problem with the degenerate songs being promoted to younger generation? I mean, that's always been there. I mean, even when I was a kid, for me growing up, it was rap music, and yes, here was obviously dancehall. In the sense, like, is it influential? Yes, for sure. But it's obviously more influential on the more impressionable minds and really the minds of youth that don't necessarily have proper guidance, and particularly with boys and young men having good role models, male role models to follow and to assist them just kind of going throughout life. Yes, they can be, for sure. They can be influenced by music, I think. But it's not a sustainable answer, I mean, do you ban music? Do you think that's not really solving the problem? I think the problem is the generation of the nuclear family and the community that is supposed to be helping to raise our young people. And that's the problem. And it doesn't, if you come from a strong household and a loving mother and father that are raising their young kids, and then you also have a community that supports that narrative, so to speak, it's going to be hard to penetrate a song. That is, it's going to be hard. A song is going to be hard to penetrate that young person's values and morals because it is so reinforced at home and then also in the community, right? And so the gap is here in Jamaica, I would say more often than not, is that there isn't regularly positive reinforcement at home and in the community. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. Don't get me wrong. I'm generalizing here, but I see it again, going back to my family's nonprofit organization. When we first started our education classes, we had the students come to our life skill classes, and these were like 8 to 10 week courses, and they were getting computers to take home with them. This is almost 20 years ago. And then we realized that what we were teaching in the class was not being reinforced at home. And so then we made it a requirement that every student who comes to and signs up for one of our courses, they have to have a parent or guardian also participate in that class. So they would have The parent or guardian would have their own separate classes that they would go to, and the child, the student, would have what they learned reinforced by the parent and vice versa. And so that's how we were able to try to combat that lack of reinforcement about what we're teaching in our classes. But that's still not enough. A Saturday morning for 8 or 10 weeks for 3 hours a Saturday, it's it makes a difference for sure. We believe it makes a difference, and we're very proud of many of our students in our NEAT class, but there's still many that slip through the cracks that because they go back to their communities and it's a different type of reinforcement. Let's just say that. So those are the students that I would say are more impressionable than others. All right, let's keep going here. Spur Tree says we need lawyers who will take on a case before they actually get paid for all these, from accidents to different things that they do there in America. Just think about how many accidents in Jamaica, and you have to pay these lawyers up front, and they take the case. Just imagine if you have lawyers taking the case and get paid after. I am not familiar with the scenario that you're describing here, so take your word for it. Butcher says, I love your work, Doc. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Andrea says, cost of living in Jamaica is over the top. I went to the supermarket in Monaco and Luxembourg, and Jamaican food prices and electricity are more expensive. Why? Well, you said it right there. Electricity. We have one of the highest electricity rates in the world, and that increases pretty much everything. We haven't come up with a affordable energy costs here in Jamaica. So that raises everything. And the reason why it's so expensive is because of I don't know the technicalities of it, but basically we have very old equipment from the 1950s that converts oil into electricity. And we don't have a natural source of electricity. Like we don't have like a Niagara Falls or something like that, or Hoover Dam that does the Hoover Dam generate electricity? I believe so, but I know Niagara Falls does, right? So we don't have that, right? So that is our issue here in Jamaica. Stone Island family, what's going on, guys? Good to see you. Awesome. Thanks for hopping on. Happy holidays, Throp. Keep representing Jamaica. Can you speak on investments in Trelawney? That would be good to jump on. I cannot. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know the area that well. I wish I could. I wish I could help. I don't. I'm not familiar. I got to step up my Trelawney game, I guess. Andrew said the world has become crass. Kuzin Conan, banning anything gives it more appeal. You're 100. Yep, that talking about banning music, and it starts with bringing up in the stable home. That's right. Kwani says, in Jamaica, advertised prices for luxury properties are often highly inconsistent, even when the properties have similar designs, are located in the same area, and offer comparable GSF and finishes. I mean, how can you? I mean, it's a free market, right? Is there? I don't know. Is there a real estate market where the prices are regulated? I think the market sets the rate, right? So if we're here on Norman Manley Boulevard and there's two identical properties right next to each other, or maybe a little bit further than each other, and one is selling for $10,000 more than the other, I don't know. I think you're putting yourself at a disadvantage and not being competitive. So I don't know. That to me would be hard to regulate in a free market like Jamaica. Ronnie Blake says, do you have any thoughts on the latest info on water infrastructure development? Minister Samuda mentioned the high cost of trucking water during drought as being a driver of their plans. Well, the big plan is, I can speak to Negril. There's a multi-million US dollar plan, like tens of millions of US dollar plan to upgrade our water infrastructure system here, kind of preparing Negril for its next phase, but also connecting us to other parts of the island because we've been suffering extreme droughts here the last few years. And so that is coming. I think it's a 2-year plan, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. And yes, trucking water is very expensive. We are all too familiar here in Negril. Chanel Brown says, Throp, what is your opinion on how emergency services can improve in Jamaica? I think a lot of focus needs to be placed on that. I agree. I've always said that general Jamaican day-to-day healthcare is, I think, relatively good. And especially if you are, say, I was gonna say a foreigner, but like somebody who's moving back here, but somebody who has the means to go to a private facility or work with a private doctor, you can probably afford a house call that would cost you a fraction of what it would cost to go to your doctor if you're in America to see your general practitioner. Going to get an MRI, this is all without insurance. Going to an MRI is relatively affordable, a few $100s. Getting your prescription medication, very affordable here. Again, if you're compared to the United States, it would be an absolute joke to you as an American, probably different for Canadian, European citizens. But where Jamaica falls short, and I would say my concern is with healthcare, would be emergency services. You just don't know what you're going to get. I mean, I've had many experiences here, unfortunately, where there's no working ambulance. That is private hospital included. That is public hospital. That is the fire station. There's no ambulance, and unfortunately, that's something that uh, I've experienced on multiple occasions. I believe we have one now. I'm almost certain we have one now, but still, it's that's where Jamaica is lacking for sure. Agreed with you on that. But it needs to be need investment more. Like that is. I don't. I try not to blame the government for our for anything really, but there are certain things that it is nobody else's responsibility but the government, and that is for sure fire, ambulance, police. Busha, when it comes to high cost of electricity, do you think solar power could compete with the technology of monopolistic power services? It'll help, but I don't know. I don't, from what I understand, I think we've had this discussion a few weeks ago. Like the solar power just could not, it couldn't work to reliably sustain the entire island, from what I understand. I think it helps for sure. I think it definitely does help. Donna says Jamaica needs to embrace solar in all new construction. Things that will improve the JPS rate will while they are a monopoly. Yep, I agree. I always say if you're going to do a venture in Jamaica, especially a commercial venture, it's like you gotta think electricity, you gotta think water. Like, what is your strategy to mitigate those costs? Jed says, do you think the country should switch to renewable? We're getting a lot of questions about renewable energy, and would it be challenging? Well, again, I don't, from what I understand, I don't know if solar could completely solve this problem. However, I know there was talks about nuclear power, and that seems like the way that we're going to have to go eventually to get this cost down. Seems like it. I don't know. Johnny Johnson says more ambulances are needed, especially at airports. Agreed. Andrea says, but we have Carolina River and the sun for energy. I don't know. I would say more solar. It can't hurt. If you're doing your own project, your own home, do solar. We got so much sun. It's going to at least help bring down the cost of your electricity and also water harvesting like crazy. Johnny Johnson says you can get anything you want in Jamaica if you have money enough. If you are poor, something like a kidney dialysis can be a death sentence. Yeah, I think that's here. That's definitely America as well. Ronnie Blake says people ask you often what business could you start in Jamaica. For now, water truck. Yes, I think you would do very well as a water truck driver, especially here in Negril. Jay Fitz, in the States, prices are not regulated, but similar homes in similar areas are comparable in price. Banks require comps to ensure prices are consistent, and they aren't lending more than they should. Ross Lipini says Germany, Italy, Ireland has a higher electricity rate than Jamaica. I didn't know that. Can cruising with Conan, can someone start up a private emergency service in Jamaica, or is that a lot of red tape? My girlfriend is a nurse here in Canada, and we're brainstorming something to do a long term once PR hits. Well, the there is there is private services here. I don't know how your medical licenses would transfer here in Jamaica. I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure it's possible, but I know there used to be a couple here, like Omega Medical used to be one of them, but now they have the hospital, and there used to be a couple of private ambulances here as well. But it's possible. It's possible. Jamaica 278 says Throp. Think we could privatize. Oh, sorry, I read that already. Jenny Johnson says geothermal energy power is only answer for Jamaican society. Quantity says to attract diaspora professionals, Jamaica should strengthen residential design standards by requiring architectural or engineering review for code compliance, safety, and energy efficiency. Shauna says, is ATL Throp-X meetup in the rotation for 2027? It's supposed to be in the rotation for 2026, but still trying to work out the details. It's supposed to be in September, but we'll see. We'll see. Shauna says, is solar, but yes, we will do Atlanta next year, 100%. 100%. Shauna says, is solar ready available for new and existing buildings? Yes, it is. We got so many solar companies here in Jamaica. So many solar companies here in Jamaica. Man, I was going to go through some comments here, but I think, I don't know. I don't want to beat a dead horse with talking about the Pinnacle comments. Excuse me. Maybe we'll do it some other time. Jamaica 278. Any updates on the Negril roundabout? No. Sadly, I don't have any updates for you on that at all. All right. I think we're gonna wrap up here. Let me see. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up here. And if anything, let's read Donna's comment here. I know of a family in Kingston whose monthly bill, JPS bill, was over 70,000. Am I reading that? $70,000 switched to solar and also installed 2 ACs. And even with monthly financing, the solars are coming out to be $40,000. That's awesome. Yeah, solar works. There's no doubt about it. The solar works. And it may not be like a complete replacement, but man, it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. All right. So, yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Just a couple of reminders, announcements before we go. Of course, we got Throp-X happening in November 15th to 21st. This is my annual Jamaica Investment Conference, mostly focused on real estate, that is taking place in November. As Jay Fitz mentioned earlier, if you already paid for November 25 and didn't come to the one in May, you can transfer your ticket to 26 in November. So we'll get that announcement out this week just so everybody's on the same page. We got Throp-X NYC Connect happening on August 8th, 12 p.m. in New York City in Manhattan. If you're interested, you can click the link in the description below and sign up on the Google Forms, and we'll send you out the detailed information. The first email is going out tomorrow. So sign up for that. Would love to meet you. Would love to take a selfie. Would love to catch up. I think this is going to be the biggest one yet. We definitely have quite a bit of people already signed up, and then a lot of people are hitting me on DMs. But would love to have you, and would love to meet up with you. Should be a lot of fun. If you haven't watched The Heart of the Pinnacle, go do that right after you get off the phone with me. I'm going to send you. Hold on. I'm going to make sure we send you there right now. Wait, hold on. Is this the right? Yeah, I think this is the right one. Go watch it right now. Team worked very hard on it. Leave a comment, hit a like button. That would be very, very, very much appreciated. and no live stream Thursday. Questionable for Sunday. I'll put out a post on the community center. I would assume no live stream on Sunday because I'm gonna be traveling. So no live stream Sunday, but we'll be back the following Thursday. So we actually have, I mentioned this before. So that is, let me bring up the calendar here. I'm very excited for this one. That is Thursday, August 13th. So I'm going to be interviewing Mika May Hyde. She is the fastest Jamaican woman marathon runner, and she's faster than me. And I'm very, very excited for you all to meet her and to, well, really for me to talk about her training schedule and to learn about how she got so fast and how she's doing so well. And that's going to be a great conversation. I'll make sure to advertise it a little bit so you don't miss it. So that's the 13th. That is the next scheduled live stream that I have. So I'll be away for a little bit. And as I mentioned before, please look out for the invite into the Circle community, which is going to be our private online community, Throp community that will be doing a bunch of different things. I'm actually very, very excited for it. Super, super excited for it. So I think that's it. I think that's all the announcements that I have. This is a good stream. If we can get to the comments at some other time. I thought we addressed everything that we needed to address. But wishing you a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. Have a great week ahead, and we will catch up for. I need to play my outro music. We'll catch up 13th. That's when I'll be back on the live stream. Good seeing everybody. Have a great week ahead. Talk soon.